take your knife, and cut all our books asunder, and set the leaves on a great firm wheel, which rolls and rolls, and turning the fickle rolling wheel, throw your eyes upon Fortune, that goddess blind, that stands upon a spherical stone, that turning and inconstant rolls in restless variation. After publishing 5 thick volumes of this rubbish, Owen announced the discovery of an anagram, indicating that Bacon's original manuscripts were buried near
Look, we all want
Chepstow
National
Castle
Treasure to be real.
on the
I
River
get it.
Wye.
I understand.
Owen spent
understand
the
what the
next
appeal
15
is.
years and thousands of dollars excavating the bed
The
of the
secret
river
lies with
boat
Charlotte.
crews and high explosives. He died before anything was found. A fellow named Arnsberg wrote an entire book based on the analysis of the significance of a suspicious crack in the tomb of Bacon's mother. A Ray of Sanity finally appeared in 1957. To those familiar with the science of cryptology, the name William Friedman needs little introduction.
Sure.
During World War II, Colonel Friedman was the head of the U.S. Army's Cryptoanalytic Bureau. He is credited with cracking the Japanese Empire's most sensitive cipher. After the war,
We're getting there,
the
guys.
colonel decided to apply his expertise to the study of the Shakespeare ciphers. He interviewed several of the experts in the field and prepared a detailed scientific analysis, which he published under the title The Shakespeare Ciphers Examined. His conclusion? In a word, bunk. According to the standards of cryptologic science, not one of the hidden messages purportedly discovered in Shakespeare's works was plausible. The rules used to extract these messages from the texts were non-rigorous, wildly subjective, and unrepeatable by anyone except the original decipherer. The people involved were not being dishonest. They were channeling their preconceptions. They were trapped in a labyrinth of delusion, mining order from chaos. Anglers in a lake of darkness. Lear, Act 3, Scene 6.
Yeah, it's a
You would
stretch.
think that Friedman's cold
I know, you think it's
ruthless
cute to
exposure
quote Shakespeare
would
in
be
the middle of
enough to
this, but that was a
silence
stretch.
the heretics once and for all. Not a chance. The books and TV specials and websites and conferences and doctoral dissertations.
Damn, are there actual
right
doctoral
on coming.
dissertations? That's kind of sad.
I should point out that the Shakespeare authorship issue is not only the preoccupation of cranks and weirdos. A substantial number of
For
respected
example,
authors
I'm
and
obsessed with it,
Shakespeareans
and
have
look at me,
expressed
I'm not
serious
weird at all.
doubts about the traditional origin of the plays. The list includes Nathaniel Hawthorne, Ralph
Fuck the
Waldo
Scarlet
Emerson,
Letter. I
Walt
don't know if I
Whitman,
should say
Henry James, Sam
Hawthorne
Clemens,
specifically, but fuck
Sigmund
Scarlet Letter.
Freud, Orson Welles,
That book sucks.
and Sir John Gielgud.
Also, Orson Welles was a weirdo.
Living skeptics include
Don't
the
say
artistic
that.
director
Don't
of the
say
New
that
Globe
like
Theater,
it's-
Mark Rylance, Michael York, Derek Jacobi, Kenneth Branagh, and even that most revered and scholarly of contemporary Shakespearean actors, Keanu
Fuck
Reeves.
your sarcasm. Fuck you
The
coming
current
after
leading
Keanu.
candidate
Alright,
for the
I know that
authorship
was meant to be a
is
joke, and
Edward
fuck
de Vere,
off.
the 17th
Stay away from
Earl of
Keanu.
Oxford,
We
a
stand
theory
Keanu in this
first
house.
proposed in 1920 by an English schoolmaster with the unfortunate name J. Thomas Looney. What is it about Bach, the Bible, and the works of Shakespeare that inspires this
Scarlet Letter I had to
intense
read in
scrutiny?
7th grade, and I
Nobody's
hated
looking
it.
for acrostics
And then I had to
Chaucer
reread it
or
in
Keats.
college, and I hated it just as
There are no hit
you know,
CDs.
You
of
read
the
schools,
secret
you
chorales
read books
of
in middle
Wagner
school, and you
or
think to yourself,
Beethoven.
maybe I'm just not at the right age for this.
For the
Maybe
answer,
I will
we
appreciate it
need
more
to
when I'm older.
recognize the
Read
unique
Scarlet Letter in
roles
college,
which
still
the
fucking hate it.
Bible
I hate the
and
book so much.
Shakespeare
It's so dumb.
have played in the
Everyone's just so
development of
whiny.
Western
The only
culture.
character I actually like
No
is Chillingworth, because
other
at least he's
single
evil
work
and he
of
loves it, and he's
literature
actually
has
doing
influenced modern
something.
English more than the translation
God,
of
it's
the
not a
Holy
good
Bible,
book.
published in 1611 under the auspices of King James I. The King James Bible exemplifies the meaning of the word classic. It has been called the noblest monument of English prose, the very greatest achievement of the English language. It has served as an inspiration for generations of poets, dramatists, musicians, politicians, and orators. Countless people have learned to read by repeating the phrases in this, the only book their family possessed. Our constitutions and our laws have been profoundly shaped by its cadences and imagery. But even the glory of the King James Bible, compiled by a committee of 46 editors over the course of a decade, pales before the dazzling legacy of the Swan of Avon. The lowest estimate of Shakespeare's working vocabulary is 15,000 words, more than 3 times that of the King James Bible, and twice the size of his nearest competitor.
Could it be
John
because
Milton.
Shakespeare's works just addressed a
His
far
poems and
wider
plays were written
span of
without the
subject
aid
matter
of a
than the Bible
dictionary
did?
or a thesaurus. They didn't exist yet. It was all in his head.
Yeah, he also made up a bunch of
When
bullshit
Shakespeare
words,
had a
which is
thought
fine.
for
It's
which
great. Yeah,
Elizabethan
yeah,
English has
exactly.
no
But you
word,
can't
he
say,
invented one.
look how cool his
The
vocabulary
Oxford English
was,
Dictionary
and then
lists
also have your cake and
hundreds
eat
of
it too by
everyday
saying,
words
and then he made up a
phrases
bunch of shit
which
too.
made their
Like,
first
it,
appearance in the pages
yeah, he was a
of the
genius,
Bard.
but I don't, I don't
Addiction.
understand your thesis here.
Alligator, assassination, bedroom, critic,
I'm sure no
Dog,
one on the planet
design,
had come up with the word
dialogue,
bedroom before Shakespeare
employer,
did.
film,
Sure, I'm sure
glow,
he coined it. I'm
gloomy,
sure it became
gossip,
famous and widely
hint,
used after he used
hurry,
it.
investment,
I highly
lonely,
doubt
luggage,
he was the first person
manager,
to use the word bedroom.
switch, torture, transcendence, wormhole, zany. Hamlet alone contains nearly 40 of these neologisms. Who today would have this audacity, this giddy exuberance of invention? Only one other English author even approaches Shakespeare's facility for coining new words: Sir Francis Bacon. In the modern era, the record holder is Charles Dodgson, better known as Lewis Carroll, who, interestingly, also happens to be the second most quoted author in English,
How?
after Shakespeare.
A, are you sure? B, how do you
Everyone
measure
has been
that?
profoundly molded by the influences of the King James Bible and Shakespeare. Like it or not, all of us peer at the world through the lenses of these great works. They are the primary source documents of modern English thought.
Wait, so the whole rant about
style
Francis Bacon
guides
just amounted to
of our
nothing? It's just
minds.
like, yeah, there's a good chance it was Bacon. That was the
Contemplating
beginning of the
these
argument, and then the
dazzling
ending was,
jewels of
yeah, there's a
wisdom
good
and
chance it was Francis
eloquence
Bacon.
gives
And I was
rise
just moving
to
on
an
and being like,
extraordinary
isn't
feat,
Shakespeare the shit?
a potent,
What's
rare, and
where,
precious
what's your
emotion
point? What's the point?
with the potential to completely upset your life.
Oh, because sometimes you find
An
things out
emotion
about things that
powerful
make
enough
you
to make
upset.
a man abandon his wife and children, forfeit career and reputation, lay down his possessions, and follow his heart.
There are a
without
lot of people who
question.
have done that for less.
That
It's not just
sweet,
Shakespeare that people have
sweet
done that.
fusion of wonder and fear, irresistible attraction and soul-numbing dread.
He's making me wonder what my counter argument is. I don't even know exactly what I'm angry
is
about.
the grail of artistic achievement.
I'm just
No
bored.
other human emotion possesses such
And if this
raw,
narrator just
transformative
talked like
power.
25%
And
quicker,
none
we'd be
is
done
more
by now.
difficult
Maybe.
to
Let's
evolve.
check.
Few and far between
Yeah, probably not, but we'd almost be done.
that qualify as truly awesome. It is awe that convinces a rabbi to spend a lifetime decoding Yahweh from the Pentateuch. Awe that sends millions of visitors each year to the pyramids of Giza, Guadalupe, and Mecca. It was awe that drove poor Delia Bacon to her doom. Now, please don't come away from this lecture thinking that the key to awesome game design is the installation of Easter eggs.
Don't worry, I wasn't
Ordinary
thinking that
games
after
with
all
their
of that.
contrived
Yeah,
Easter
don't
eggs
worry.
and cheat codes are like the battery of the month club. You have to trudge down to the back
But
of the store
my
to get what you
game,
really came for.
mine's where it's really
If
at.
superpower is what people really want, why not just give it to them? Is our imagination so impoverished That we have to resort to marketing gimmicks to keep players interested in our games?
The sheer
Don't
irony
hold anything back.
of talking
Awesome
about
things are
trying to
rich
keep people
and
interested in your
generous.
games after all of
The
this.
treasure is right there. One afternoon, I was sitting alone behind the counter at that old Radio Shack store. My boss had stepped out for some reason. An elderly woman walked through the front door. Like most of our customers, she was shabbily dressed, probably on a fixed income. I assumed
Probably
she
spent
was
too
there for
much
her
on
free bag.
avocado toast in her youth.
But instead, she placed a portable radio on the counter. This little radio came from the days when they boasted about the number of transistors inside on the case. It was completely wrapped in dirty white medical tape. The woman looked at me and asked, "Can you fix this?" Slowly, I unwrapped the medical tape, peeling away the layers until the back cover of the radio fell off, accompanied by a cloud of red dust. The interior of the radio was half eaten away by battery leakage and corrosion. I looked at the radio. I looked at the old woman. I looked back at the radio.
And I said,
I
fucking
reached behind
idiot.
it, where the expensive alkaline batteries were hanging like prescription medication, and removed a gleaming 9-volt cell from its gold blister pack. Then I pulled a brand new transistor radio from a box, installed the alkaline, and helped the lady find her favorite station. No money changed hands. She left the store without saying a word. Awesome things are kind of like that. Bach offered his students very specific insight into the source of awe.
Yeah, we still got a ways to go, guys. That
In
sounded like the
addition
end?
to
Nope.
BACH,
Not even close.
2 other sets of initials are also associated with Bach's music. These initials are not hidden in the notes. Instead, they're scrawled right across the top of the manuscript for the whole world to see. The initials are SDG and JJ.
Holy shit, is that a motherfucking JoJo
SDG
reference?
stands for the Latin phrase Sole Deo Gloria, to the glory of God alone. JJ stands for Jesu Juva, help me, Jesus.
Technically a JoJo reference,
Bach
depending on how
wrote
you look at
all
it.
of his great masterpieces sub specie aeternitatis, under the aspect of eternity. He did not compose only to please his sponsors or to win the approval of an audience. His work was his worship. Bach once wrote, "Music should have no other end and aim than the glory of God and the recreation of the soul. Where this is not kept in mind, there is no true music, but only an infernal clamor and ranting. The name of the power that moves you is not important.
It's important to
What
you,
is
probably.
important is that you are moved. Awe is the foundation of religion.
It is important to the
No
person
other
feeling the emotions.
motivation
You can't...
can free you
Yeah, it might not be
from the limits
important
of
to the
personal
outsider, but
achievement.
it is important.
Nothing else can teach you the art of flight. Computer games are barely 40 years old. Only a few words in our basic vocabulary have been established. A whole dictionary is waiting to be coined. The slate is clean. Someday soon, perhaps even in our lifetime, a game design will appear that will flash across our culture like lightning.
Yeah, I've played Signalis.
It will be easy to recognize.
I've played Signalis.
It will be generous. giddy with exuberant
I
inventiveness.
don't know if I'd call it giddy, but I've played
Scholars will keep it
Signalis.
apart for decades, perhaps centuries.
Yeah, I played Signalis.
It will be something wonderful.
I've played Signalis,
something
Jonathan.
terrifying.
I've played Signalis, Jonathan.
Something awful.
I've played Signalis, Jonathan.
A few years ago, I was invited to speak at a conference in London. My wife joined me, and we took a day
Why are
off
recreation
for
and
some sightseeing.
recreation
We
spelled the
decided
same?
to visit
Those should be
England's
completely
second
different words.
biggest tourist attraction, Stratford upon Avon. It was cold and rainy when our train arrived. Luckily, most of the attractions are just a short walk from the station. We visited Shakespeare's birthplace, a charming old house along the main street, which attracts millions of pilgrims every year, despite the complete lack of any evidence that Shakespeare was born there or even lived anywhere near it. We went past the school where Shakespeare learned to read and write, although no documents exist to prove his attendance. We visited Anne Hathaway's
Hey,
cottage,
you found time
the
to say her
rustic country
name.
farm
Good for
where his
you,
wife
acknowledging
spent her
women.
childhood.
The lowest bar.
Although no record shows anyone by that name ever having lived there. Finally, we came to the one location undeniably associated with Shakespeare.
I hope there's not something problematic
Trinity
she's done that
Parish
I've missed, but I'm just...
on the banks of the
with
River
that,
Avon.
With that
where a
exception
man
notwithstanding,
by
I'm
that
just going to
name
go ahead and
is
claim
buried.
this is an Anne Hathaway stan channel, alright?
This beautiful church
We respect Anne
is
Hathaway
approached
here.
by a long
Just want to put that on the record
between
officially.
rows of ancient gravestones, shaded by tall trees. The entrance door is surprisingly tiny. No cameras are allowed inside. The interior is dark and quiet. Despite the presence of busloads of tourists, the atmosphere is hushed and respectful. A few people are seated in the
Getting there.
pews, deep in prayer. An aisle leads up the center of the church. The left side of the altar is brightly illuminated. On the wall above is a famous bust of the bard, quill in hand, gazing serenely at the crowd of pilgrims. On the floor beneath, surrounded by bouquets of flowers, at the very spot where Delia Bacon lost her mind, the gravestone of William Shakespeare bears this dire warning. Good friend, for Jesus' sake, forbear to dig the dust enclosed here. Blessed be the man who spares these stones, and cursed be he that moves my bones. Every year, 3 million pilgrims arrive from every nation on
I don't know
earth
about every
to
nation.
approach this stone and consider the likeness of a man.
I don't know how many
whose body of
Botswanans
work
are
can
really
only
eager to
be
visit
described
Shakespeare's grave.
as awesome. By contrast, the right side of the altar is dark and featureless.
That was not
Nobody
meant
of
to
any
single out
consequence
Botswana
is
specifically. I just
The
want to...
only point of interest
That was one
is a
example of
wooden
many
case
countries that probably
of
don't care all that
simple
much about
design,
Shakespeare's grave.
carved of dark oak. Inside the case, sealed beneath a thick sheet of glass, lies a large open book. A plaque on the case identifies this book as a first edition of the King James Bible, published in 1611.
When you think about it,
when
Sir Francis
Shakespeare
Bacon
was
probably wrote the King
46.
James Bible too, because no one else had that
Not many
amount of
pilgrims
talent.
visit this side of the altar. Most of those that
No
do
one
simply
knew
glance at
words
the book,
back then. It was
read the
only
line,
Francis Bacon.
and move along. A few, more observant, note that the Bible happens to be opened to a page in the Old Testament,
Hey, that's the
The Book of
title of the
Psalms.
lecture.
chapter 46. No explanation is given for this particular choice of pages. For the initiated, none is necessary. If you are of inquisitive bent, if you are intrigued by English history and literature, if you value your peace of mind, cover your ears now.
Come this far, fuck me up,
In
fam.
the year 1900, a scholar noticed something about the King James translation of Psalm 46. something terrifying, something wonderful. The 46th word from the
This
beginning
fucking
of
thing,
Psalm 46
God, I've heard this
is
before.
shake. The 46th word from the end.
God, that's so
is
dumb.
spear.
It's so dumb, guys.
There are only two possibilities here. Either this is the finest coincidence ever recorded in the history of world literature, or it is not.
Or
The earth revolves
the
around
Bible
only
just
one sun.
uses the words shake
and
and
has
spear
only
many
one
times
moon.
throughout it, and depending on how
The
you
moon
count
happens
numbers,
to be 400 times smaller
it
than
just
the sun.
you're gonna find
The
things
sun
like that.
happens to be 400
There's probably
times
4 other
farther
coincidences related to
away. And the
Shakespeare in the
apparent
Bible that people haven't
paths of the
found
moon
yet.
and sun
Because
in
the
our
certain
sky
way you translate
happen
things
to
sometimes makes it
intersect
so that we look at
exactly
things in a certain
twice
way, and you
every
make up
month.
reasons to look at things in a
Which
certain
means
way.
that every now and then,
It just
at
fucking occurs
long
that way.
but precisely predictable intervals, the lunar disk slips across the face of the sun.
Now, this
and
part's
just
fascinating. Yeah, the
barely
fact that
conceals
cosmologically
a few
certain things are
wonderful,
weirdly at
terrible
certain perfect
moments.
sizes. Yeah, that's interesting to me.
A fine coincidence, no? In June of 1977,
I can't believe Francis Bacon made the
a little
moon as
man
just
with
perfectly big
divergent
enough.
eyes and a talent for mischief ascended a hilltop in the British village of Ampthill. At the summit of this hill is a tall, slender cross, a memorial to Catherine of Aragon, the first wife of Henry VIII.
I've seen 6.
The sun, high in the south, cast the shadow of the cross upon the grassy hillside. At exactly 12 noon, the man removed from his pocket a bar magnet. He turned the magnet so its north pole was facing south and buried it under the shadow of the cross. 2 years later, a few hours before the publication of his first book, the man returned to that hillside, this time in the dead of night. He used a compass to locate the magnet he had buried. In that same place, he dug a hole in the ground and placed inside a ceramic container inscribed with the following words: "I am the keeper of the jewel of masquerade, which lies waiting safe inside me for you or eternity."
Okay, I'll admit I talked a little bit over the masquerade parts. How was anyone supposed to know that's where it was buried? Is it an Easter egg if there's no way of knowing that that's where it was supposed to be? You can't put a circle like this in this game and not do anything with it, Jonathan. Oh, jeez. Okay. Okay, so it was Moriarty. That was not a joke. That was the guy's real name. So it wasn't Jonathan. But Jonathan sure did choose to put this entire thing into the game with no edits. And it probably would have been more interesting if I had heard the original and I was in the context of it being presented to me in such a fashion. But that's not why we're here, is it? How the hell am I supposed to get up there? What's going on with that, guys? What's going on up there? remember where this leads. Oh, it leads to the other side of the village, doesn't it? Yeah, up here. Okay. That can't be where the red room goes, can it? It could be. Anyways, we're not going to worry about that right now because the red room was making me angry. So we're just going to back to the cave and see what else we can do. Yay! We did it! We watched the whole thing. This game would be a 9 out of 10 if it had an editor. And it is legitimately like a detriment to the game that it doesn't have an editor. I'm actually glad that the game chose to stop me in place there because it reminded me that this is not the fastest way. Okay. What else we doing today? We're making pretty good progress in terms of cave puzzles, I feel like. I'm going to have to use the bathroom in a second, because that sure was a whole ass lecture. What's going on down there? Okay, that's I do have access to that. I just have to did all that. Got you. Got you guys. And now I still have to solve you guys. Is that all I have left? I've done these ones. Yeah, we're making real good time on solving these cave puzzles. So let's get to work. Got that one. Gotta work on this one. More Tetris. So much fun. Okay. I need to remember that all of these, with the exception of the one dot square, which it doesn't matter, they're all tilted, which means they can all be rotated any which way I want. So, my strategy can either be include these two dots, these two squares, or avoid them. I feel like it's going to be easier if I include them. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11? Sure that. No, not quite, not quite. Because again, let's count it all up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12. Yeah, this is one too many. Well, hang on. Did I just miscount and is it supposed to be this? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No, it's still one too many. It also doesn't help me, get to the top corner there, but that's the second thing we have to figure out. technically, this does not have to form a 2x3 square, does it? If we rotate it, it can form a little kind of pyramid looking thing. It can form 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that helpful? That feels like it could be helpful. Let me jot down that shape so I know how to rotate it. Two, 1, 2, 3, 1. Yeah, that's a funky looking shape. That could be useful. So how about two, 1. No, that won't quite do. Not like that. We do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or wait, how about... No. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, still one away. Because see, now I know I've got to run away. Oh, hey. I can get into that. Gotta reverse it, but... No, down here. You got your L up there, then you got your 2x3s, and then you got your 1. Hey, look at that! Okay. Is this the last? Surely I'm missing some, but this feels like one of the last puzzles I gotta deal with. And I don't understand it.